Well, as you can see, progress has been made. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Well, we dived right into her right away. Whole front end, front clip, lower wind dam, everything is aligned, tightened up, torqued up, where it's going to go. We even got the horns in here. Now, there were 3 originally. Third one was thrown in there, I think, just on a whim. There's only 2 mounts for the 2 horns, and even in the parts breakdown, it only shows 2 as well. But I got them tucked in there pretty good, and all this extra wire, I don't want to cut it out yet. You never know. There might be a call for a 3rd horn. We'll have to see. But what I'll do is I'm going to roll this all up nice. I'll zip tie it together, put a little piece of electrical tape over it. It'll be tucked down in behind here, so you'll never see it. But I thought, you know what? Better safe than sorry. I'll keep that extra connector on there for now, just in case. You never know. And I got a radiator mounted. So radiator is in. Now it is in there solid, and I have it spaced, so I'm not touching any of the metal all the way around. But it may not be permanent. So for now, I just got these little tabs, top and bottom. Nothing crazy, but they're solid. They don't move and it don't flex. And I got about 3 inches of space between fan and the rad, so hopefully that doesn't go through it. But it leaves quite a gap here on the side. When you're straight on, you don't really notice it, but as soon as you get to the angle a little bit, you can see there's this large gap through each side that you can see straight through the engine compartment. And if we go back here to the original radiator, it has these huge flaps on the side, these big brackets, and they're closed right in. So it kind of hid that, even though this radiator is only like a 1/4 inch smaller. Those big flaps kind of hid that space and closed that in. So if this works good, if this radiator is enough to keep this engine cool, then we'll make it more permanent, and I'll make an actual bracket, maybe get a nice piece of aluminum or something to go down the whole length of each side, closing that right in, and just make it look a little more appealing. Now, upper and lower rad hoses they're a bugger of a thing. Nothing I can use that was stock at any time. Not going to work. So I was looking online, couldn't find anything. But I did call local Napa and asked if they had random radiator hoses. They had tons of them. They actually had a wall of them. So I took a piece of wire and I kind of bent it to the shape that I needed. One of my viewers had mentioned about, they saw guys do that, take it to the store and try to match things up. So that's what I did. I took my little wire and tried to get some hoses, and I think for sure I got an upper. The lower, well, that's questionable. It was a really odd shape. It looks similar, but it ain't nothing near what I had on the wire that I took. So we're gonna try to figure out something. But what I end up getting is this one here for the upper rad hose is actually a lower rad hose for a 2002 to a 2013 Cadillac Escalade. That's what that is. And then for the upper rad hose, or the lower rad hose that I need, this is actually an upper rad hose for a 1999 to 2003 Ford F350 upper rad hose. That's what that is. So we'll see if it works to the right diameter inside. That one, yeah. The other one, I think so. All right, that upper rad hose fit on there pretty good. Now, it had this original, I guess, abrasion stuff on there, I think is what it is. For wherever it may be on the original vehicle. So I don't need it for that, but the angle coming off my water neck as I come up and kind of bent over, I had to go a little further than it was, and it never pinched off the hose, but it did, start to flatten it a little bit, and when it came around. I put this stuff on it though, and it took it right out. It's lifted up a little bit here because this goes straight down, but it took that bulge right out of it and keeps it nice and round. So we're going to go with that. Just need a couple clamps. I'm going to call that done. So yeah, this is she's I don't know. One thing I did notice is it's got this other little funny little bend in it, a little bump there. If that wasn't there, that would go down further and take a little bit of the stress of this bend off. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to sacrifice this thing. We're going to try it. I'm going to have to go to the store. I have to go to the store tomorrow. And I picked myself up an 1 3/4 nipple. So poly barb with an 1 3/4 on both sides. And then it looked to be about 3 inches I got to take out of this thing, maybe even more. The more I can take out of this bump, the better. So I'll play with that. Starting off small and slowly going. But yeah, so if I cut that out, bring it together with a poly barb in there, a couple extra band clamps down in there. Won't look the prettiest, but you know what? It's not like I can just go pick this part off the shelf or anything, so I'm going to have to make do with what I can. So, yeah, that's what's going to happen. All right, we are back up on the jack stands again. Rear wheels are on blocks and blocked, so if you can't roll. And I'm keeping a little bit of weight on the front cross member, still on this my main jack with the engine in there. You never know. Better safe than sorry. But next step, we got to make some transmission lines. So I got all my adapters for my transmission lines. I'm still missing one for my power steering, but this is what we have here. So on the transmission, I got to come off on a 90, and they are an odd size. These old 64 Mopars and stuff. The radiator connectors and also the ones for those transmission is a -5 JIC, which is not your most common fitting, and they only have them in adapters on 90 or straights this way. The problem with that is that they only go 05 to 04, so that'd be a 1/4 inch hose, which is too small. I don't want to go below, I can't think of the size of the 05 at the moment, but you don't want to go smaller. You don't want to be restricting your transmission. So with these adapters, they're going a going 05, which is the original off the transmission, up into a -6, which is a 3/8. So I'm actually going bigger on my line. And those lines will travel up along the side of the engine and along the frame rail. And that'll ensure that I don't have any restriction for flow going back and forth. -5 at the radiator, -5 at the transmission, like it was from factory, and then -6 or 3/8 joining the two, so she should have good flow. So I'm going to get under there, put these on hand tight. I got my nipples down there already, and I'm going to run them to the back and see how long I need to make them. All right, so I measured out my hose, and I just pushed the ends on by hand now, and just to test fit them. They fit pretty good. Now, I'm not going to go under and do this 4 times. End on, test fit, push on the other end, back and forth, take them off. So I just did it one go underneath there. I'm going to take these to my work. I'm going to crimp these down. When I come back, then you'll get to see them underneath the car, and they'll be put on permanently. Then I'll get my little brackets to hold them up. There's 2 spots that I want to put a larger hose, or I might get some of that thick plastic abrasion material. Put that on there just where it touches the edge of the transmission to make sure it don't wear through. But now I just got to do up one more for my power steering line, and that'll be her. All right, it is time to crimp on some ends. Get the machine runned up here, and we are on -6 already. So we're going to grab the appropriate die, which are all marked. This is a pretty simple process, but I do need 2 hands. So we'll get a hose in here and get it ready. I should have hit record a little sooner there, but here we go. We have an end crimped on perfectly, and it is 100% permanent. These lines are good for 5,000 PSI, so they're definitely going nowhere. But that is all my lines made for the transmission. Of course, I got that one marked to make sure I know where the rear one is, the forward one is, even though the rear is much, much longer. And we got the power steering line done. Now, because this line was coming out of the pump like this, and it's going back towards my fender, I need a new glove, back towards my fender and around underneath the power steering pump, I made sure that when I crimp that on, the natural curve of the hose goes that way already, so I don't have to bend it too much extra. I don't want to kink it off, and that'll come around the back. Now, it is 2 braided hose, and you pretty much you can't kink them. You can try, but you have to purposely want to kink that hose for it to bend. But that's it for them. I do need one more adapter elbow going from this. It'll be a male -6 JIC going to a female -4, which is the original nipple coming out of the power steering box. So we still need that to come. Hopefully that'll be here soon. Hopefully it'll be before I post this video. It'd be nice to have it here so I can have this complete. Now that we're back home, we can put these babies under the car, get them mounted on the radiator, back on the transmission permanently, get them all cinched up, get some wire ties, we'll get some clamps, everything to keep them from rolling around and rubbing around. We don't want to have any chafe or anything. So, not going to be able to video much under there, but once we get it all done, we're definitely going to give you a show. Alright, I didn't bring my flashlight under here with me, but got the main lines up front onto the radiator. They're all tightened up nice, and I got good space all in between my pulleys and everything, and my harmonic balancer, which is right here, just to make sure hoses aren't going to rub on nothing. And then I thought I had some nice rubber clamps that bolt together, so they're getting zip ties at the moment because I'm not sure where they're at, but they'll be fine. They're probably good almost forever. And I brought them together so they're nice. Got good space between my engine here. And then the only place that was really close is right where they come around the corner here by the bell housing of the transmission. There's an inspection cover. It's got a sharp edge there. So I took a piece of old radiator hose, the one I cut a little bit off of that top hose, wrapped it around here, put a couple zip ties on there just to hold it on. Still I could just get my finger behind it here. But you know, with things moving, because the engine and transmission going to move separate from the chassis, the car, just a little bit with the flex. I just wanted to make sure they're not going to rub through. And then, of course, the top hose would go back across the transmission. Because keep in mind that the kickdown cable is now like almost 2 inches closer to the side of the transmission, and that's where the other line went. So I just made sure that when I tightened my back fitting, it kind of made the hose go above the kickdown cable and the arm, just to make sure it wasn't interfering. Now that we're back topside again, we got a whole lot going on in here now. So the power steering hose, it's just here, sitting loose. There is an adapter, the last elbow I need to go on to the steering gearbox. Still waiting for that, that's coming. So I just got the line set in there. Once all set is and done, it'll end up being about 3/4 to an inch away from the battery. The battery will move that way a little more. And then speaking of the battery, this is just one out of my truck. The truck battery is done. I got to charge it for like 4 hours, and you're lucky if I get one start out of it, and just hope that you don't have to shut it off to where you're going. So I was using it sparingly. It's done now. It's too much of a risk to get stuck somewhere, and so I took it out. But this is the battery, size battery. I'm going to need a G65. This fits perfect to the car. The little bumps at the bottom are wedged in on both sides. The bottom, the bump on this side hits against the edge of the battery tray, so stops it from touching the side of the car. And it fits good. And that is a 850 cold cranking amp battery, so it should be more than enough. Got my ends on here, all soldered on, just loose for now. And also, I put on one of these quick disconnect doohickey thingamabobber thingies, just because, you know what, I'm doing all the wiring, and it would be nice to not have this thing burned down. Now, another thing I've done here, if you remember, I had some red paint that was peeled off here from when I masked it off to do the primer, and it was just where I must not have sanded it real good. And I should have did it when I touched up my paint down there, but I forgot all about it. So I went through and I sanded this top lip, I masked it off, and I just gave her a quick shot of red just to clean it up. So now there's no chips, and hopefully it'll adhere much better. Now you can see some black marks here. That's part of the same thing. This is the same piece of metal as this. This is just where the transition is going to stop. So this is the primer. So I've sanded it. It's ready to be primed again, but that won't be done until I got this whole thing masked off and I'm ready to start painting in here. Once I go through it, then I'll have to, you know, I'm going to be doing a lot of sanding here. I'm sure I'm going to go through in spots in the car, so I'm going to have to touch up some primer spots anyway. So once it's masked off, those little spots like that I can touch up, give a quick buff and sand out, and then it'll be ready to top coat. Now also, down in the vent here, I pulled the vent off and I just shot some black paint down in there. Just something to take out the color of the gray. Now, this gets the large louver over top of it, and you can't see through there at all. It's like just the shadow itself is dark enough, but I don't want to leave it just exposed primer. And also, this is where all the dirt and junk lays down in here. There'll be water laying in here. This is like an eaves trough tray here. As the water comes through, it runs down on this tray, down to the corners, goes down, and then it comes out. Where are we at here? It comes out these little spots here on the bottom. So, because it's going to have a lot of water in there from, if the car's outside in the rain, if it does rust, I don't want to be trying to get in there and trying to really feather things out and match paint colors and stuff. Black is black. It's gloss black. I can get down into a piece of sandpaper or a wire brush or something like that, flake it off, hit it back with the black primer, close it up, and you'll never even know that it's there. Now, as I'm finishing up more wiring, which we're going to get here in a minute, I'm getting to the point now where I got to start painting in my jams in the front here. The dash is going to go in here real soon, hopefully. And it goes, of course, right up to here. And then the edge kind of fits under here a little bit. And then there's a little valance metal piece that kind of covers that all up to make it look pretty. But, again, not wanting to leave the bare primer underneath it. And also, this spot here, it's going to be hard to get to the paint, so I need to paint this in, this lip, and right around the edge, in nice white paint, the same color the car is going to be, and the same quality of paint, too. So I have to make a decision on what brand of paint I'm going with. It's going to be white. The car is going to be, might not be bright white, maybe a polar white, just a hair off, but I do need to spray that in before I put my dash in. It'll just make it way easier. And also, I got to sand down my steering column here and get that painted black as well too. Now, it's got a little bird turd there and a little bit of dust, but it's mint. There's not a mark on it, so that's good. It's all just dirt that you see. And for the most part, you only see, maybe from there up sticking out. The rest is hidden underneath there. But we'll clean it up, get the whole thing painted, get that old steering wheel off of there. And I got to get that done. And then other than that, I got a little bit of cleaning there. I got to put a little bit of flat black on the inside of the housing there where the fan goes for the fan box, just to, keep rust down. So I'll throw some rust paint in there. And that'll kind of get everything done, ready for the dash. And then speaking of the dash, I apologize, I didn't video any of it, but everything is working. Now this did take a bit of time, and mostly because I'm partially special with a capital R. And I had a few little things elude me completely, which drove me nuts. But everything is working. My fuse box is cleaned. All fuses are in. I run power. I have all lights, all gauges. I hooked up my heater box or my fan box here. Everything works. High beams, low beams. Got everything working. Dimmer lights in the dash. All the lights in my fan controls. Even the vacuum fan control buttons work, and I have them jumping between high and low. And that's it. Everything is here that needs to be here. It's ready to go back together. The only thing I don't have in here is the wiring harness for the rear defrost. I do have it in my bucket there. It's all good. Switch works good. It just hangs. It really hangs down low, and this is easy to get up into. It's one push in, and then I take one alligator clip to which side we got? Right here. Just where this red wire is going here. Right there. It joins across to that. And then that'll give me my control here to run my fan in the back. All right. I'm going to have to do a little voiceover here. This little spring, this is the spring I need for the push button shift in the 64. It holds the park lever in the up position so it doesn't drop down into park while you're moving. Now, depending on where I get it, the spring is anywhere from $60 to $80 delivered to my door here in Canada. And it doesn't seem to matter where it comes from. That's the price range. And you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to give my hand a try at making this spring. Unfortunately, at the very end here, for some reason, I didn't video it going into the car. You'll see it later on in the video in there and assembled. It worked awesome. And hopefully, it'll have some good life in it. So, here we go. Well, hopefully that fan's not too loud. And it's kind of dark inside the car here. But the dash is finally in the 64. And she went in with a fight. It was something else. We're talking life-changing, marriage testing material here. It was quite the frustration. Got it in here. I had to stop because just not in the right mindset. You get to a point where you're going to start breaking things. But it is just held in by the upper screws. And I just got it to this point. There's really nothing I could have... I did try filming some, but I ain't posting it here. That is not my proudest moment. I'm getting a little frustrated, a little upset. But it is in. But now that it's in, I was hoping I could hook up my controls and stuff behind this dash to get it all complete. Not the case. The entire dash has to come apart now. Starting right from this grill, right across. It's got to go this way because the shifter is my first thing that goes in, last thing that comes out. And I got to get this all apart again. And hook everything up and go from there. So, got some screwdrivers, got some tools. Let's dig into her. Alrighty, so got some trim off. Got to manage to get my heater control out. Now I have a bolt that holds that grab handle on behind there, and I am not going into that. I'm not getting this dash back out again. So there's enough play that I was able just to get this top trim down and kind of bent out a bit, which let me get my heater control out, and there are just a few wires, no problem. So now for the dash, it's so tight. The wires behind there are pretty, there's a mess of them, and they're wrapped around different things. So I was able just to pull this dash out and move it over about a 1/2 inch, which is just enough for to get it off the lip here of my control unit for the shifting, because this is what I need out. This is my biggest thing I got to get out of here. Speedometer cable, if I mess with it, I'm sure I could get it. I can definitely get it now. Not an issue there. And I can actually see down in here to where the cable kind of goes, looking down through the side here. But I'm just going to get a couple screws out of here, and I should be able to pull it out. Now I did scratch a couple spots, and I actually had the paint stick to the back of my trim, which is crazy because this has been painted for a long time. But it pulled it off, and I think it's all covered where it's at, but I do have this paint again. I think it's called Fleet White, so I'll be able to touch up any little spots nice and gently with a little pick just along the edge of the trim, just so you don't see it. And I'll just have to be a little more careful. It's not like high-end automotive paint that I used, so I'll just have to be a little careful as I go. Alright, there's a lot of taking apart screws here, and I've come into the realization that I cannot get to my controls as the dash sits. Now, going back on TikTok and looking back and forth at the manual, some guys were right about this dash rolling back, except for I couldn't. When I took off my top bolts, it was like solid. It was like binding against something. And also, when I did push it down, it would come in contact with my steering column, and I'd only open up the dash about a 1/2 inch on the back. Well, I realized, or you can see the bracket right there, and one over here as well, I have my bolts on the wrong side. I never even noticed that my dash was not in line with the contour of the door sills. It was way back. And there's a secondary bolt hole back there for some trim plates that go in here, and that's what I had it shoved into. So what was happening was the bottom of my brackets were jamming. Well, this side was jamming right into the emergency brake pedal. That side I'm not sure. There's not really any weight on it. But it was this side that was binding up that would not allow it to move. So once I got them moved out, I also realized there's a bracket on the inside here, right there, and it's clamped around the end of that drive shaft tube. I loosened that off, and that dropped down about, 3 inches, almost 4 inches. And in doing that, I am now able to roll the dash back a bit. So that is awesome. That is much better, much easier. There's my control I got to get to right there. There's the shift lever. And I got to hook up my linkages. I guess in hindsight, didn't have to take off my heater. And I probably didn't have to take off speedometer either. So it's all here, all easy to get to, hopefully. Still going to be hard to get the little tiny bolts down in here. But at least I got some hand room to work with. Now I know I was wrong. And nothing wrong with that. As long as you learn from your mistakes and go forward, it can only get better. Okay, this is where I'm working at down in here. There's my shift control. You see I got one cable there with 2 bolts in it. You can see the cable coming up. Get the cable on this side. And if I look down in there, right between those 2 bolts, you can see something shiny there, a little speck. Well, that's my pin, my keeper clip. So I got that on. That is the park brake one. Now, unfortunately, over here, on this side, you got the two bolts there, and right below it, in the center of the picture here somewheres, there you go. That is the pin that holds the cable for the shift control. So, forward, neutral, reverse, 1, 2, 3. And you see that groove in it. Well, that's where a little E-clip goes, or a Jesus clip. A lot of people call them, because when they go flying, it's the first thing that comes out of your mouth. Well, mine went flying. And I didn't hear it hit the floor. It didn't pop out, hit the engine. I've checked everywhere inside. Dusted out my towel. Checked the floor. There is nothing. I don't know where it went. And I can't continue. I cannot finish this and put this dash back together until I get that little clip. So, hope you can hear me okay. C-clips, Jesus clips, E-clips, whatever you want to call them. I got a couple on order. I decided, you know what, if I'm going to do it, might as well get 2 just in case. They're only 19 cents each. But, get under here and get a few things done while we're waiting. Hopefully more than a few things. As long as everything goes smoothly and get everything hooked up here, I'm hoping that we can basically get everything done except for that clip, of course. But gonna get all our plugs together. That is the blower fan motor there. And if I can match up my colors, we get the, what's this? This is the 2-speed for my windshield wipers. There we go. Get them on. Now I also got to bring in my light around for my ashtray while I'm down here. And of course, we'll get a few more other things going. Ugh. And we'll try to get this dash piece together now that I can get this thing tilted back. I know I'm gonna be able to get it together. All right, we are down over here now in the dash. I'm gonna get our heater control back in. Again, another thing that we didn't have to take out, but I did. And you know what it is what it is anyway. Gotta make sure I get it in the right, oh jeez. Upside down. There we go, that's better. Oh, and you know what? I gotta turn you guys off for a second, because I got a picture on my phone that shows me the correct way I had these wires in. And there we go. There we go. Brown on top, green below, and then the dark brown on the far side by itself. Just there we go. Throw a couple screws in there, and that'll be good. Where are we at here? That's this monstrosity. Now, which way? Oh, still hard to see. Which? Left or right? See, they're offset. I don't know. Can you? Hopefully, I'm showing you this. There's 4 on one side, 3 on the other. And I cannot see the back of my controller here. Oh, okay, so 3 goes that way. Oh, this ain't gonna work. Oh, I gotta come up top. That's it there. It just plugs into all those little nipples. Now it's on. Now I only got 1 screw holding that in. It's kind of hard to do this with the dash laying down. So I'll just put 1 screw in to hold it so I can get it. I got my brake wires are here. They're in a good spot to go. This bulb's fine. Oh my, where is it? Where's my plug for? That's the dash or the floor light. Oh, there it is. There's what I'm looking for. One for my cigarette. Now, I decided actually just after I got off, turn the phone, I'm going to leave this big hole that I can reach through with my hand. So I'm going to leave that right there. That'll be close to get that on. All right, so now, okay, I'm going to, oh, jeez. Whoa. All right, sorry about that. Okay, you know what, it's time. I'm going to shove this dash back up into place. I'll put 1 screw in the middle to hold it, and that'll enable me to get down underneath here for my bulkhead and get that plugged into the firewall. Now I gotta have to check my plugs on the outside there to see how the 2 line up, because there is a notch that kind of mesh them together. Gotta make sure that this one is going the right way, just so I don't have to twist my wires. Okay, while I was under here, I'll get my fingerprints over everything. Hooked up my mirror control. Look at that. It's not perfect, but you know what? It works quite a bit. That's pretty cool. So I got that in, got that on. All right, now, some light down here. Now we're into the mess. The mess. We got to figure out what everything is doing. So, oh, that is, okay, that's my main power to the back fan. That's going to go to the electrical box, but I'm going to have all the electrical hooked up first, and I didn't know what position that switch was in. And of course, I'm going to have all these wires bare for a little bit, so I'm going to make sure that I don't hook any of that up for now. We got steering column, yes. So that just goes to there, that's good. And then we got the bulkhead. This is my emergency brake ground, so it's gonna go up there somewheres. That'll be for later. But now I gotta get this way up in there. And I gotta figure out which, oh, I think it only goes one way. I think that triangle piece, if you can see it, is that little notch cut out in the bottom. That's, oh yes, that's gotta be what it is. All right, let's see if I can get that up in there. Now this, I don't know if you can hear me. This has a nice soft neoprene rubber seal all the way around it. So it should seal fine. Oh, that was fairly easy. Oh yeah, it locked right in there. Look at that. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to run these wires through here yet. I want to make sure that where I have these routed, or there, well, I guess this is where they're going to be. There's not much space. I don't know why there's so much room for the shift cable, but the park cable and the speedometer are so tight. I don't think, I can see they're not rubbing down below there. They're good there. Just got to get that rum. I'm going to have to put a little bit of sealant on there. It pops in, but it pops back out. So I'll seal that on. This one's good and tight. I'll put a little bit of sealant around there. You can see the light shining through. But, yeah. Yes. Yes. But I got that together. I popped my big harness in. Oh. through the firewall that you saw there. And I decided to connect it, hook it up. I ran a little hole through the bushing or the rubber grommet for my speedometer. The hole's pretty big, so I was able to put a hole, just poke a hole through it with a screwdriver, or sorry, a punch, and put this blue wire is my needle temperature gauge that I want in here, or oil pressure gauge as well too. So I brought that around, put it through there so it's not touching any metal, and it comes out underneath, and I'll be mounting a gauge underneath the dash there at some point. Before she's running. Dummy light's nice, but usually when the dummy light comes on, you're close to getting a window through the bottom of your engine. My clock just clicked on. Just making sure nothing is getting hot. This voltage regulator is my biggest worry, because if they're not grounded properly, I guess they'll just blow themselves up. They'll burn down. We're good there. No plugs are hot. The ignition should be off, so nothing on this side should be live. The grounds aren't getting hot. Whew, all right. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, yes. Look at that. Yes. Oh, I guess it helps if I turn ignition on, I guess, eh? Oh, oil light come on. Oh, gasoline jumped to 0. That's fine. Temperature went right down. It was halfway. Low fan. Oh, it's working its way out. You know what? I might have to align that. Second here. Might have to align that. When I put it in the hole, there was quite a bit of movement up and down, and it's just that open squirrel cage, and I'm sure it's touching against the housing there. But look at that. Oh, yes. What else did I get? Oh, windshield wipers. Oh, I have 2 speeds. Oh, yes. That is awesome. I just had to check this out again. So ignition off. Nothing, just like it should be. Key on. Oil light comes on. Temperature drops. And I got 2-speed windshield wipers. Do I have brake? Oh, yes. Yep. That'll work once I get that together. What else I got? Oh, engine ignition. I got, where's my fan? My fan is hooked up now. Let me check that first. I have my belt wrapped around it. Nothing is in the way, just to make sure. I wonder if I can bump this engine over. Let's see what's going on. Oh. Here we are on. Yeah, we're on. Let's see what happens here. Okay. No engine start. What's going on there? All right, let's check the easy stuff here first. We are, oh, okay, we are good. Starter's hooked up. Everything's good there. Ignition wire, starter relay. Come on. Come on, I'm grounded. I'm grounded, I'm on. On. Which one? Let me think here. Oh, there she is. And guess what happened? Well, you can see that dash is open again. Forgot all about it. Of course, I don't have my clip on my shift cable, so it wasn't in neutral, which is awesome because that means the neutral safety switch works. So I had to pull this off. As soon as I lean this dash off, it pops the cable off. So I just had to reach down in here, grab it by hand, and one click. I know all the way forward is reverse. So one click is neutral. Back in the dash here. Key on, oil lights on. Oh yes, we have power. Whew, that makes me happy. I'll admit, I was getting a little worried there, trying to figure out what might have happened. But that is good. Now, this thing, this voltage regulator, it's, well, what? I've had it on for 15 minutes. It's not hot, but it is warm. And my alternator's not turning. So, is this thing supposed to get warm? What's the deal with these? I'm going to have to do some research on that. Maybe you guys got some input. But like I said, it's not like you could put any part of your body on this. Any part. It wouldn't burn it. But it is warm. It's warm to the feel. And my thought was that this wouldn't be doing anything unless the alternator is turning. But I'm going to have to look into that some more. But that is good. So, again, Thursday, my clips get here. I'll be able to put that clip on, put this dash back up, and have it on fully 100%. Well, that right there, that's what I got to get all the way down on there without losing it again. See a little nub down with a wire? And I got two of them. Let's see if I can make one stay. Can you see that? It is on. Oh, I was about ready to lose some marbles. Because you know what? Took me 2 tries to get that. I now have 2 clips down inside the back of my dash somewhere. Though the second one, I heard it hit. It is on. It is on that pan somewhere. I heard it hit the deck. Where it's at, don't know. And I'm honestly to the point where I just don't care. It's on. That is all I really wanted. All right, we are outside on this beautiful day. Just a nice little breeze. Keep the edge off because I'm still wearing a hoodie. But even after the blaster, man, this stuff is rough. The pitting that's in the steel is unbelievable. I'm assuming this is all, just all the moisture running down the inside of that windshield over the years, and it has really pitted it up. So, the inside come out pretty good. Hit that with the blaster. The primer will take care of this, no problem. I don't have to worry about it ever rusting again. Primer, a light top coat just to, stops that primer from flashing. But on this side, we definitely got to get it down. So all I got is just my cheap Canadian Tire dual action sander here, the rotary sander. I got some 220 sandpaper. I'm going to take the top off of all this rough just to get it fairly smooth. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to use a high build primer on it, my rust primer. But if I can get the top surface fairly smooth, then the top coat will look like glass. And there, with the final coat on, she's a little, not sticky, but it's soft. And those turned out awesome. Now they are going to fit in just beautifully right in the top here and cover up all of this junk. And bring it right up to this edge here where the seal goes in. So you won't see any white from this point onwards. It'll cover this up once the seal matches it. And yeah, lots more painting to go, lots more cleaning. But they are looking good. Don't know how long this video is. I think she's an extended one. I'm going to save her probably close to an hour. And that's okay. I don't mind putting out longer content. And yeah. So, next time, hopefully, we'll be getting more into the car. Some more interior stuff. And it's going to be time to start getting this thing rolling. So, hopefully I can get it moving under its own power. That is the big thing. It's basically ready to do it now, except for it'd be nice to have a way to stop. But anyway, thanks for following along. Thanks to new viewers. Catch you again later.